drop the guilt. Everyone is literally doing the best that they can with what they have, where they are in the moment. And it's just that reminder that I always need for myself that I'm going to do the best that I can. And if I could do better, if I had the knowledge and the skill or the time or the energy or any of those things, then I would.
Switcheroo, it's like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
we actually know
Mm,
that we're doing okay. We're doing a good job.
that's
When
good.
we can forgive ourselves because we're all innocent. Like we're going through this for the first time.
Hey friends, Dr. Devin, special episode coming in hot right now with two of my favorite ladies on planet Earth. The last few years have been really magical in the way that nothing has unfolded since 2020 as I thought it would. And yet everything my soul needed, my heart needed, my body needed has come my way. And God has introduced me to some of the most amazing people. And these two are at the top of that list. And as we landed at different events, they just kept coming in my field, and you find these people with this certain type of fire and energy, and you want to stay close to it because it makes you feel alive. And so I'm truly honored to have these two women here, and we're going to talk big ideas and dreams and visions, and we're going to play and we're going to have some fun because the girl talk in the little voice memo, and I know you ladies feel this out there who you might be listening. It's like you just want to keep them as a little vault of our healing and our transformations that are unfolding in this time. So please welcome Miss Kristina and Lindsay to the big idea.
Hi, so happy to be here. I love it. I love that we're doing it this way because, like you said, there's something special in the text, but it's like to see your faces and to just be kind of sharing this. I feel like we're opening the group up to just like this bigger circle of women and people, but it's exciting.
How you doing, Miss Kristina?
I'm great.
I'm going to toss it to you first. And for anybody that doesn't know you now, if you've been to a big idea, you have heard in the last few years this sweet woman sing and share her voice, her little songbird gift with all of us. But if I say, who are you? Where are you at in the world? What is your answer to that little question? Who are you?
That small question. Hi, I'm Kristina. I'm trying to be a a, a vessel portal for people to I just want to be a mirror. I want to be a mirror to people and reflect back their beauty. And the ways I want to do that are through music, um, being a support to elicit like just full-throated living for people, discovering their voice. Being I teach art, I do some wellness coaching, I play music, I'm a mom, I'm a lover of plants and animals. I'm a really fucking love.
That is okay. You let that fly.
I
That's
love
right on
sisterhood.
thing, girl.
I love sisterhood. Yeah, so expressing in the world through those things of art, music, building community, um, and being a listener to people when they, through coaching, voice activation, whatever, when they're feeling off. And my job is, to hold space and be like, here's who the fuck you are. You're gonna figure it out again.
Remembering.
Yeah. And so yeah, the big idea during 2021 was like was a huge opening for me because I went like on a whim, drove through a storm, thought I was gonna die, drove 10 hours, and I was completely captured and enraptured by what you created, Devin, and I was hooked. I'm like, okay, these are my people, this is my family, let's go, what's next? And here we are.
Mhm. Mhm. And we're going to go back through a few of those highlights later on. And similar lens. So I'm going to toss that little big question to you. But we all circled up at the Health Freedom for Humanity event in Kansas City in 2021. And there's been multiple events since then. And guys, again, with big ideas, if you came the last few years, Lindsay's helped behind the scenes just put on to make the magic. I mean, events don't throw themselves. They are quite literally a labor of love. And you are a doula and a facilitator of those things. And so I'm just grateful to get to bring your voice here because you're usually in the background and you are here now in all your essence. So who are you, Lindsay?
I'm Lindsay. I I am an event producer, so I facilitate, curate, plan, produce events of all kinds. So after 2020 kind of moved into this more health freedom, sovereignty, space. And it's been really, really amazing because when the world went sort of crazy, I wondered what I was going to do with all of this, the skill set and the history that I had in events, live events, and it just didn't feel in alignment anymore. And it's kind of like we've talked about before, and what you said at the beginning, Dev. It's like the shakeup was the greatest thing that has ever happened because I feel where I'm supposed to be. Yeah. And yeah, I mean that's sort of my mission now. It's like taking all of those things that I know and love, but funneling them into the projects that are just bigger than us, that I feel like really impact not only us on a spiritual level and a personal level and the mind, body, soul, but humanity too. And to gather people in this way under this umbrella of again freedom and sovereignty, it's just, I feel like that's all we're supposed to do, is just to remember, like you said. And it's yeah, I just feel like that's really my purpose in life now, is to help facilitate those gatherings where people can really just get to know each other and get to know themselves deeper. So,
and in real life, in
yeah,
connection,
yeah,
in human form. And I'm so interested to hear, because the only preface for this conversation was like, let's just get on. And of all the places, right? So we had some big idea events. We had Health Freedom for Humanity. We had the event, which was the online summit in 2021. All these big things covered a lot of ground. Confluence, Music and Sky, literally been around the world chasing these things. And there was this tempo in 2020 and 21 where there was almost a rage against the machine type momentum in our bones. And that's shaken down, got a little more peaceful. And now it's like, all right, what makes us come alive, mind, body, spirit? What is free? What is sovereignty? So when I'm asking a question, like, if you could give one big idea, one major premise that you've all these travels, in the life experiences that you've had, in the events that you've facilitated, in the throat chakra activations you've been a part of yourself and otherwise, one big idea that has kind of just opened a cascade of other happenings for you, what would that one big idea be? To just, it's like, remember the fairy godmothers off Sleeping Beauty that like bestowed the gift upon Aurora? And like, if you could just gift the collective with just this big idea, this opening, this adjustment for the soul, what would that one thing be? I'll let either one of you take it.
Kristina.
Okay.
I can go first.
I'll go. Another small question.
Mm-hmm.
How do you encapsulate everything? And for me, a couple things. It's curiosity is like this healing salve, whether it's fear or judgment. And because sometimes we just want like the hard answers. We want hard answers. We want to know what the right path is. We want to know who's the right person, what to do. And I used to be like frenetic about that. And I think the gift that I've received is just to chill in, like, let everything bathe in curiosity and chill in the ambiguity, and that sometimes just the questions are the answers. And so if you apply curiosity to things, then I think it leads you to both, and where that's really my thing. And it's like, that is the umbrella of umbrellas, like curiosity in the both, and living in the gray is okay. I mean, ultimately we have to make decisions, but getting really comfortable with, like, well, what am I not seeing, and where else am I wrong? Like, ooh, I'm like, bring it, flip me upside down, show me all my blind spots. There's a really beautiful quote from Simone de Beauvoir, and it's something like, I tore myself away from the safe comfort of certainty, and truth rewarded me. Something like that, like trading out rigid certainty, and then you actually land in truth. And so, yeah, curiosity is a healing salve, and the both, and because really that's probably where the truth closer lies. Like, it's in all of it.
Well, and Joe Dispenza, right? He says that miracles can only happen in the unknown. Otherwise, we're just chronically recreating our
I love
past,
that.
right?
Yeah.
And so you invited a question at the end of last year in our little group of like, how good can you stand it, right? We've been so anchored in the hard and the struggle and the war mentality and all these outdated, broken, sick systems that are quite frankly crumbling at all levels. And there's chaos and there's uncertainty, but can that be a good thing? Can we be curious? Can you chill in the ambiguity?
Yeah. And one more thing, that to get there, like, it's curiosity, right? Like, curiosity is this pillar. Then how do you apply curiosity? And my favorite, it's with those what if questions. Just start in with the what if questions. Like, can you get curious when you feel yourself like want to judge, when you feel yourself want to give into the fear? Can you apply the curiosity, that healing salve, and start going with the what if questions? And I think when you ask questions, I don't know what that does to your brain, but you just have to kind of go there. And then everything just eases a little bit, and you can be in a moment a little bit more.
Have you ever done, I think it's Dean Grazio. I know I butchered that.
I know what you're talking about.
But the seven layers of why. Have you done that, Linz?
Yeah.
I'll post it on here. We did that behind the scenes with Tara, right? In the event was, I think, where I first heard about that, but same type of thing where it's like, so you could take any hot topic or collision going on in the world right now, whether it's government or like any of the political, the belief systems that are getting dismantled a little bit right now. Everybody's cages are rattled for some reason. And instead of just going with your reaction, you go, why is this making me angry, fearful, whatever, is coming up in me? But why? But why? But why? And you usually have to go 7 layers under to really get to like what's there. And so you can take race, gender, sexuality, abortion, politics, this way, that way. And why am I triggered though? What, like, yes, out there, but what is triggered in me truly, right? And asking what if and that why to get lower. And I think that's the most empowering place that any of us can look for answers in this time, is in here. And for me, to source and God from there, right? When I'm trying to make sense of it, all of it. That's beautiful though. I love it.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
your
and
real voice can come out, right? Instead of the one that's been programmed in you, what to think and how to talk. That's where that real voice activation can actually come through, because you figure out what your truth really is.
And I think, right, because if you're not okay with being, like, I mean, wrong, I don't know, if you're not okay with not having the answers, and then you don't know those layers of your voice that's underneath, because there's always so much more.
Well, and for me, I think that the ugly, the sickness under that, the disease, the dysfunction, the whatever is control. Like I need a
Yeah.
sense of control. Well, then
Yeah.
why?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do I need control? Well, because then I'm not safe or my kids aren't safe. Well, why? Like, like really ask, like, when did I start to have this need to control what's going on in my reality and everybody else's for that matter, right? And that's, I think, been some of
Yeah.
the most enlightening God walks that I've had over the last few years. Linz, I know you were going to say something there as we were.
Oh no, you're good. I was just gonna say I love that whole idea of the and, but then I was just gonna say, have you read Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway? That's the whole like concept in that book is just the control, needing the control. And when we don't feel in control, that's where all the fear comes from. And it's just allowing yourself, like you said, Kristina, to be in that middle ground. And in the and, it's just like, what if there is no right or wrong? What if there just are different outcomes? Like it takes all of this pressure off, and then you get to just be curious. You get to just explore. You stop getting so stuck in these ruts of like, this is the way. And if it's not this way, then I'm fearful, then I'm scared, then something's wrong. It's like, what if that's not true? What if none of that is true?
Mm-hmm.
It's so freeing.
Oh, we're already lighter. I feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, done.
That's it. We'll see you guys later. Except Lynn's, I want to know what your big idea. I mean, because literally, like I was thinking about this as I tossed that question because you helped facilitate those conversations in just the event, right? Was like 60 something conversations. The big idea you helped with, I think we had 20 something conversations. Like, I mean, and those are just two events, not even Confluence and Divine and Dangerous that you're probably like, you could have 100 big ideas, I'm sure, like that. But what would your one be in the here and now?
My one big idea, the thing that like I wish everyone remembered, it's not even like that you have to know it. You already know it. You already were born with it. You already remember. And that's that you are the one in control. You have all the power. No one has power over you. No system, no politician, no boss, no one. No one does. And I discovered like thought work and life coaching and all of this, like, 8 years ago or something. I just remember thinking like, hang on, I'm in control of my thoughts. There is not a single circumstance outside that can create anything for me, create any thought or emotion or anything. Like I'm bigger than my thoughts, and like I filter them and I decide what to focus on. And it's just so interesting how many people don't remember that truth, that nothing outside of you, everything outside is neutral. It's all a neutral circumstance. And you get to decide how you feel, who you trust, who you put your faith into, who you decide to listen to and follow. And at the end of the day, it's really only you deciding to do that thing. No one has any power over you at all. And yeah, I just think that if we could all block out the noise and come back to this thing between our ears and just focus on, do I want to believe that thought or not? I don't have to believe it. Do I want to believe that thought or not? It's just that simple. And yeah, I mean, I feel like I could go down a whole rabbit hole of all of the things that creates, but it's just, that's the point where you decide to be a victim or you decide to be in power, and then it can go even deeper for the systems outside. Like, why do we believe that the school system is the way to go in order to get an education? Why do we believe that big pharma is the end all be all to our health? Why is it the government? Why? And why do we need money in order to create this foundation and structure for ourselves? Like, it goes so deep that you could start questioning why you've believed every single thing has any power or meaning or any of it. And you can buy into what you want, totally fine. But it's just that remembering that you're totally in control and there's nothing else that has that power.
Mm. I love,
Yeah.
well, and I always think of Neo and the Matrix in these types of conversations, right? Because like the Matrix didn't really change, and like the circumstances didn't change, but he became aware, right? And he played
Hmm.
within the rules of the game of engagement. And that's what I've learned. Because even when I started to maybe wake up, because at the beginning, maybe in 2020, I thought it was all about pharma and vaccines, because that's a world that I lived in, right?
Hmm.
Then it's like, oh, well, it turns out all the stuff about the United States and the law, common law.
Yeah.
And then you get into schools, and then you get into
Yep.
the underbelly of like, I mean, it's huge. How big is big? It's huge. I'm not sure like I can even conceptualize how big all of that stuff is. And it's only as real as I attach my emotions to, right? In my
Hmm.
here and now, like, I'm good.
Mhm.
We're good. Like, and I think if I can get back to that place, and then, that's when he could like bend the spoon and field the bullets, and nothing really touched him because he understood like he was in control of the perception of his reality, right? And it
Hmm.
truly is, I think, the most freeing thing to come back to that space. To your point, it's not something you get taught. It's this remembering that I think we all have to come back to, because we are human and we do live in this time, and social media has us overly connected in some ways, where we're, there's all these different world topics, and it's too much to hold. And so, I think it frazzles us and distracts us, maybe purposefully, right? And so we have to go back to that neutrality of like, I'm gonna be where my feet are, and I feel good right here and now, and untangle from all that noise. At least that's what I hear in this big idea.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. It's like we're hijacked all the time, our emotions, like there are experts at taking our attention, knowing what buttons to push. And I can see myself in those moments on Instagram reading something and being like, ah, and then having to stop and be like, okay, that's really just my programming, my default reaction. And is that the one that I wanted to like fall to? I was talking to somebody the other day and they were like, you in those moments, especially when there's fear and your adrenaline, you start to get like all worked up, you default to your base either like emotion or your base understanding or like your very bottom. So like if you don't raise the floor, you're always going to immediately go back to that lowest point when
Mhm.
you're faced with that sort of like really heightened, really intense emotion.
Mm,
And it's just constantly trying to bring up the floor a little bit higher so that that's not where you fall.
mm. I love that. I want to rapid fire a few things, and I'm probably going to come back to some of that. But if we go through the layers, because even to be a woman is how many hats in one individual day, right? In the here and now, and the pace. I don't know about for you, but I feel like it's picked up a lot. Or maybe we talked about this the other day in our little girl thread of like chaos, and you got a puppy, and we get these things, and it's like what it's like we intentionally, well, let's throw another event. I'm going to do the big idea. It's like, am I, just hungry for the hats, or like, are we made to be able to, grow a garden in all these different capacities? So I want to go through some of the big ones that I know hit all the ladies in all the fields. Um, let's just start with kids. Because moms, I know that like nurturing moms and the mother, right, in all of us is a big one. And fielding chaotic times in humanity's history is one thing. Raising children through this time is a whole different one. And we have kids of all ages. I would love to hear, like, if you spoke out to moms, right? What would be the one thing you would speak to the mothers right now?
All right, I'll go. I I mean, it's the same message that I think so many people share, but it's like drop the guilt.
Mm,
Everyone is literally doing the best that they can with what they have, where they are in the moment. And it's just that reminder that I always need for myself that I'm going to do the best that I can. And if I could do better, if I had the knowledge and the skill or the time or the energy or any of those things, then I would. And I can always still continue to try and grow and push myself to be a better mom, more present. But it's just letting go of that guilt that I should. It's It's like, no, you're just there, you're human, and you're everything to those kids that they need you to be. And you just have to trust that, that's it.
Don't should on yourself, right? And that Dr. Stu in our 20, a lot of shoulding in on ourselves, right? Self-inflicted harm, really.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. And I see myself wanting to do better. I really genuinely do. And then I have to take a step back and look at, again, the time and resources that I have for myself. And I have to weigh out, like, if I do want to do all of these things, something else has to be put down. And can that thing be put down? Do I want to put it down? And then I can pick and choose again from an intentional place. But instead of just being like, I wish I could do it all, it's like, well, yeah, everybody wishes we could do it all, but you can't. And so you have to do what you can. And then you have to let the guilt go when you can't.
Kristina.
Yeah. I think about, my first thought was, if you're, what would your 4-year-old self tell you in this situation? What would your 94-year-old self tell you in this situation? And if your best friend was you, if your best sister was you, what would you tell her? If you could flip, because I think we talk to ourselves pretty harshly, but like, if the thing I'm stressing about, and this summer, really going back and revisiting some ways that I feel like I really fucked up when I was a young mother in an abusive relationship, and she's 22 now, and really being hard on myself. Some of those things were surfacing and I had to move it through my body and forgive myself. But it often came up like, if I was listening to a best friend go through what I'm going through, what would I tell her? And then I can tell that to myself. Like, we really know, we're just really hard on ourselves. And so if I could look in my 4-year-old self's eyes, if my 94-year-old self could tell me something, and if my best friend if we could do a switcheroo, it's like, we actually know that we're doing okay and we're doing a good job.
That's
when
good.
we can forgive ourselves, because we're all innocent. Like, we're going through this for the first time. I didn't know. And what's really cool about having, older kids is like, you can go back and talk about stuff and be like, I really didn't like that. Well, not just older kids, but I didn't really like the way I responded then. And this is how I'd like to respond, and just modeling,
Yeah.
the path to forgiveness.
Yeah.
I love that.
So good. That the prophet, your children, not your children, right? They come through you, not from you. And like that anchor of the 94-year-old self, the bigness of parenting, and they don't come with a manual, and we're unlearning as rapidly as we could ever be learning, right, in this game. So I love all that. Segue, partnership, marriage, like love, right? Because there's a lot. I mean, I know you guys have been in a lot of growth individually, and then you share space with a husband, a significant other, like making space for each other in your evolution, right? Because we're all like just shifting and just, making a priority for love and connection and being vulnerable as you change. What would you speak out to couples or to, to love and marriage?
You really do need to make the time. Like, you really do need to make the time. If you don't carve out an appointment with each other the way you do with your clients, with your children's whatever, like, if you don't carve that out, time will keep going, and you'll just be roommates passing by in the night. Jason is so good at asking me, what do you need today? I'm not as good as asking him, but that's incredible. That's incredible. That's a good question to ask each other. What can I do for you? Like, what do you for sure need today? I want to be a guardian to that.
Mm.
Yeah. I like that question too.
Mm.
That's a good one. I'm going to do that. I think for me, it's this idea of expectation and dropping expectation from the other person. I definitely, for a really long time, had a lot of expectations, and most of them went unsaid. And problem number one, how can anyone meet an expectation if they don't know that it's there? And number two, most of those expectations that I had were based around me wanting to feel a certain way and wanting him to do something to make me feel that way. And so, again, kind of coming back to this idea that I'm in control of my thoughts and my emotions and being able to create that for myself, I could take a step back and be like, okay, well, if I want this thing, I can create that emotion for myself. He doesn't have to do that for me. And if I really want something done, I can ask for that thing to be done, or I can do it myself. Like I don't have to just have all of these unspoken things and then sit there and be like, okay, where is that? Give me this feeling. I want to feel good. I want to feel loved. It's like, well, that's all going to come from me, because he could do the thing and then I could still not feel loved. I could still not feel seen. And so I have to remind myself that the love comes from me first, and then I can decide how I want to facilitate, the conversation or the actions outside of it with him. And then having that perspective of myself, I was able to kind of drop it for him as well. It was like, all right, I'm able to, yeah, I mean, I guess that's just it. I stopped expecting from him, and then I could feel the energy from him do the same to me. So it was just like, all right, let's just let it go.
That's so good, Lindsay. Thank you. I'm gobbling that up. It's absolutely real. And right, like when you it's like, if you want something to change the way I'm a paraphraser, right? Change the way you look at it. Right.
And the things you look at change. Yeah.
And it's so true. It's perfect. It's perfectly applied to that.
Yeah.
And we can do the 4-year-old self with ourselves, and that's grace and compassion. But like, imagine him at 4, right? Like, just this little guy in the big world doing the best he can. And like, that helps me go back to how many stories and, guilts and shames and regrets, how many things have stacked up inside of him that he carries around, and how can I, interface with him a little bit more gracefully if I'm expecting, that safe space with him as well.
Well, and I think there's also like one little bit I want to add to that. It's just when you realize that you don't have the expectation, that's all coming from this need. I need something. And when you drop the need from somebody and you realize you don't actually need them anymore, you can just want them. And when you just want somebody, it's so much more fun.
So much more fun.
So much more fun.
Lighter. And then it's life-giving instead of draining, which is what it should be. We talked about events and in-person things. We're sound bathers and yoga and massage. We like to do things and self-care things. And that's one of the things I feel like that's always coming up in our text thread of different activities and events that we go to. Just in like this year, what's been one of the most restorative, life-giving things that you've done that you'd be like, oh my gosh, if you haven't tried this, you got to try this, because it just pours some, like, it's a reclamation of some energy back into the body, mind, and soul.
Well, this isn't a this year thing, but I like to go on talk to myself drives. Like I'll just get in my car, drive around. I know you do this with walks, Dev, but there's just something so fun and cathartic about just being in my car, talking to myself. No one can hear me. Sometimes I'll just scream out of nowhere. I can just babble. It doesn't have to make any sense. Like, it's so freeing to just let it all out in this way that, breath work is awesome, but there's always this, like, someone's there. I can't just like scream when I want. At least like that's me. Same with all these other types of, sound baths and all of that. They're beautiful and amazing. But I want to hear my voice sometimes, and I just want to yell, and I want to know myself better. and just talking, like I'll pose a question to myself out loud and then answer it. And I feel sort of crazy sometimes, but it's so good. I love being a little crazy.
Mm.
That's my most cathartic for sure.
I started hugging trees again, like putting my body on them. There's a tree out front that we got the sidewalk. The city, when they fixed the sidewalk, they fucked up this tree's roots. And so I was like, what can I do? So it's like, I'll hug it. So I'm out there on the curb with my body draped around this tree. But it talks to me. And then so when when you allow the trees to just like settle you, then you start to notice the other things. So what's really been coming alive for me is truly the little critters, the plants talking to me.
I love it.
That's so rad.
It's
I know.
it's real. It's real. It's real.
I want to be Kristina when I try.
I do too.
But just I hope whoever's listening, you can see her on video as she's explaining it with the trees behind it, because there's a youthful joy.
That one.
Yeah. 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 And like for me, I would think that summer it's been similar in feels. I want to feel things. So like water and like movement, it's like what I want to feel like with my body, which is different for me because I spend a lot of time in my mind and ideas and growth up here. But right now it is like cold showers, and it is lifting weights and getting strong again, and bare feet on the grass and jumping in the lake and surfing, just like I want to feel things. Like I just think something about a woman in her body, but also with the nature element. And I love that. And those drives with the music and like, and you can just literally put it all down, which I think if I look at my practice and how many women come in and they're stressed out and you have headaches, it can be an array of symptoms or diagnosis, but fundamental root is stress, right? You're carrying too much all the time. So how do you turn it off? What are your go-tos to turn off all the tabs and just control, alt, delete, reboot the system? So I guess that would, anything else, right? We got divine and dangerous coming back up. So I want to hear just a little bit of some things you're birthing in creation right now as we wrap up. Linz, tell us a little bit about divine and dangerous. Kristina, tell us a little bit about throat chakra or voice activation, and maybe a little bit about whether they can make it to these events or reach out to you, and we'll have all those links. But what's a piece of that magic that you would share with all of us right now?
Yeah, Divine and Dangerous is a women's retreat coming up in a couple weeks in Bandera, Texas. And it's a 3.5-day event full of just empowering you mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. It's just about really reclaiming that power that you have inside of you that you forgot about. And it's just allowing yourself to completely unleash it so that you can be the most creative, magical, incredible version of yourself that's already inside of you, but you just needed to remember. You need to just sometimes get into that place where you can just like rip the door, like push the door wide open, just like, hello, here I am. It's like this metamorphosis thing we've talked about so much. It's just like being in this cocoon and there's something outside. You're meant for something so much bigger. That's what this event is for. It's to help you break through to the other side. And so it's going to be breath work and gun safety and wilderness training and fire making and self-defense and sound baths and tea ceremonies and all the things to connect you to yourself and to the earth and to source and just fully unleash you back out into the world. So excited.
I'm so sad I cannot be there, but I will be in spirit. In spirit, I will be there. I will not miss the next one. And like I said, we'll make sure and link that, because I feel like there's women listening right now who know you need that. And if there's a part of you that aches when you hear that, that's like, when's the last time you did something like that stretched the comfort zone, but nourished the soul? that helped you grow, but also helped you root back down, right? Like it's all the things. It's for the little girl and the sage, right? And every woman and every season between. So I can't wait to see the pictures and be holding big space for all of you. Miss Kristina?
Whew. Well, I'm really looking forward to Divine and Dangerous. The programming is amazing. It's incredible. Like how and so intimate. Like we're all just spending the time there together for days.
And Kristina's emceeing and playing music.
That's true.
So
That's gonna be fun.
we get Kristina's voice through the whole thing.
So yeah, and I feel so honored. But I I'm doing some really cool stuff with music and yeah, music and voice. Just like my friend and I created an album. Took years, COVID got in there. But I have them and we're playing tomorrow night and I'm drawing on the covers on the sleeves and that's the artwork and we're debuting that tomorrow. So that's really fun. Yeah, I'm really just continuing to like I do events here too in my town and I had a couple last week and they're just growing and people are people are wanting what they want and so it's fun.
I think you set yourself free. There's that saying of like, you set yourself on fire, they'll come from miles around to watch you burn of sorts.
Yeah.
Authenticity and boldness of just being you is just radical now of some sort. I mean, I think it's catching fire by the day. But I do think in watching the song, I'll share the links in the description of that too, the song that you sang for the mothers. And the song last year, This Little Light and Somewhere Over the Rainbow and like the different songs I've heard you sing at other events, like you definitely carry us all with you in your tone. And I feel like you're a storyteller as much as you are a singer. So we'll have to keep everybody linked there in the Divine and Dangerous. And we just, I think in a day of podcasts where there's so much out there, I feel like I've said to you guys multiple times, like, let's just get on and have the conversations that we would have. And with the hope that there is this like revival of red tint culture amongst women to speak up and speak out and have fun and play and dance and sing and paint and create and put it all down and decide what you want to pick back up. And I feel like this conversation is been a piece of that revival. So I'm glad in divine timing that this, came up and we'll link you guys to these two. But this is of any topics or experts or doctors, but like anybody that I could bring in, it's always been the women and the mothers for me that when I sit closest to them, I can really hear God. I can really hear truth. And in part, I think because we carry the children and the heart of the homes and our communities with us everywhere we go. So every time you speak, I hear everyone you speak for, right? There's a like intimacy of this conversation, but there is a bigness to this conversation. So I appreciate you both for making time for it. And I'll miss out. Major FOMO. And Hillary and I, our other friend on the thread that wasn't here today, but she's going to be in another episode. Her and I will be in Europe. So that's, I'm sure, Kismet time too, that we'll be there. We'll do some check-in. We'll have our magic going on. But ladies, I appreciate you. Onward,
Devin,
upward we go.
Devin, you're so much is happens because of what you do. So like this, you're such a good space holder. You're such a good inviter. And thank you for always knowing it's important to bring people and voices together to connect to each other. And I mean, like, this is cool. Yeah. So thank you.
We can share it with our daughters and granddaughters. It's our own little time capsule as we sing the song forward. So I love you, girlies. Good to see
you too. Thank you.
Thanks to everybody join in, and we'll see y'all soon.